Her tiny hands clutched the edge of the table as she stared at the untouched slice of cake. No candles, no singing, no one coming. Across the cafe, a man watched, a man who knew what it was like to feel forgotten. The smell of fresh coffee hung in the air, but for her, it was only the scent of another lonely afternoon. Emily sat in the corner booth, her legs still and unmoving beneath the table, the bright pink dress doing nothing to hide the heaviness in her eyes. In front of her, a small cake with a single candle stood untouched, its flame flickering against the hum of strangers' conversations. No one noticed her, except Daniel. He was a man whose face carried the lines of years he hadn't chosen, whose worn hands bore the quiet marks of someone who worked until they ached. Across from him, his little boy was coloring on a paper plaque mat, humming to himself. Daniel's eyes kept drifting to Emily, sensing something that went beyond the obvious loneliness. Emily's father was once a man the whole city admired, a visionary CEO, sharp as steel, with a kind of charisma that filled rooms. But a cruel accident had left him paralyzed, locked in a wheelchair and hidden away from the public eye. Since then, Emily had watched her once invincible father fight silent battles no one saw. And on her birthdays, the house that used to burst with laughter had become a place of quiet meals and polite smiles. Today was different. She had begged to go to the cafe alone, hoping maybe, just maybe, someone would remember her. But the minutes stretched on, and the only thing that came were the shadows moving across the wall as the sun dipped lower. Daniel knew what it was like to be invisible. Years ago, he had returned from service overseas with injuries that made even walking a struggle for months. Friends had faded, employers had hesitated, and some days even speaking felt like a battle. But he had his son, the only reason he kept going. He noticed the way Emily's hands fidgeted with the hem of her dress, the way her eyes darted toward the door each time it opened. Around them, people glanced and looked away. No one wanted to step into the quiet sadness at that corner table. Daniel could have been one of them, but his son was watching him, learning from him. And he knew moments like this shaped a boy into a man. Without a word, Daniel rose. His limp was subtle now, but still there, a reminder of the road he had walked. He crossed the cafe and stopped at Emily's table. For a heartbeat, she froze, unsure. Then Daniel's son appeared beside him, holding a small paper flower he had folded from his coloring sheet. Daniel looked at her, his voice gentle but steady. No one should spend their birthday alone. The paper flower trembled in the boy's small hands as Emily reached out, her eyes wide with surprise. They sat together, strangers only in name. Daniel told stories not of battles or hardships, but of hope, of moments that had turned bad days into bearable ones. His son laughed, and soon Emily was laughing too. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. From across the cafe, people began to notice. Some smiled, some shifted in their seats, but the silence that once had been laced with indifference now carried something warmer. Before leaving, Daniel handed her a small card, not his number, not a gift, but a handwritten note. Kindness is a candle. Even the smallest flame can light the darkest room. She would keep it for years. When Daniel and his son walked away, they didn't see the man in the wheelchair at the far end of the street, watching through the cafe window. Emily's father had come to pick her up, expecting to find her alone. Instead, he saw her smiling, truly smiling for the first time in months. And as Daniel passed by, their eyes met. No words were spoken, but in that moment, two men understood each other, both fighting battles the world didn't see, both refusing to let the next generation grow up in silence. Real strength, Daniel would later tell his son, isn't in how much you carry, it's in how much you choose to share. Not every battle leaves visible scars. Not every hero stands in the spotlight. Sometimes the quietest act changes the loudest pain. If this story touched you, share it and let someone know they're not alone. And tell me, where are you watching from?